Okay, and we are live. Okay, so good afternoon, viewers. Welcome back to the program Meet the Press with Lovejoy Mtongwiza. With Lovejoy, the program is Meet the Press with Lovejoy, and my name is Lovejoy Mtongwiza. Welcome to this program where we talk about everything and we invite everyone from everywhere. The aim of this program is just to bring people from different backgrounds so that we talk on issues that are happening in and around the country. And we are continuing with our discussions from last week on a program sponsored by Zella. We are continuing on the environmental child rights conversation. And today we are going to be talking on different issues, and we have invited various players from various organizations that are going to be sharing with us. But before we go into the program, I would like to take this opportunity once again, as I always do, to thank our health workers who continuously make sure that we are okay. And I would like to thank everybody who is ensuring that they're safe from COVID, everybody who is working towards ending this pandemic, fighting this pandemic. Cases in Zimbabwe are rising on a daily basis, and that's very worrying. Yes, we have been hearing about the possible arrival of a vaccine, but in Zimbabwe and in Africa in general, we are likely to get this thing, I think the vaccine later on next year. So please, let's not relax, because COVID is real and it's killing us. We want everybody to ensure that they are safe from this. Wear your mask, sanitize your hands, and just do the general safe things that you always do. That said, like I said earlier on, we are going to be continuing our discussions on environmental child rights, and I've got 4 panelists today. I will let them introduce themselves so that we get into the program. I'll start with Mazvita.
Hi everyone. Hi Zimbabwe. My name is Mazvita Muringani. I'm from Zimbabwe Ezekiel Gutu University, and I'm a member of the Environmental Law Society. I'm very happy to be here, and I hope we'll all learn a lot today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mazvita, and I'll move on to Nyaradzo quickly.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nyaradzo Mtonore. I'm the Programs Manager at Zimbabwe Environmental Law Association. Looking forward to having fruitful discussions with everyone. Thank you.
All right, so we are looking forward to hearing from you, Nyaradzo, and thank you so much for sponsoring this program. I'll move on to Mr. Bore.
Thank you, Lovejoy. Hello, everyone. Hello, Zimbabwe. My name is Tsuro Bore from Zimbabwe National Council for the Welfare of the Children. Child rights is our business. Thank you.
All right, we are looking forward to hearing from you, Mr. Bore, and what you have in store for us. And then last but not least, from Alice. Alice, can you hear us? Alice?
A good afternoon to everyone. My name is Alice Muvumbi from the Zimbabwe Youth Council. I'm the Programs Officer. Thank you.
All right, Alice, we are looking forward to hearing from you as well. And we hope, because I see your network is a bit problematic, but we hope that as time goes on, we'll be having less and less of these network challenges. So to kickstart our program, I'll invite Nyaradzo Mtonore, who is the Programs Manager at Zella, to talk about requirements of public participation in the mining sector and environmental management. Nyaradzo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lovejoy. So I will speak about participation of the public in terms of mining sector and where it is coming from. So I think the first premises of where this is coming from basically emanates from our constitutional rights, where the resources that are in our communities are supposed to benefit us. And this therefore means that because of that, we are entitled to participate in decision making. And when we look at issues of the environment and natural resources, when we look at the problems that are associated with the extraction of resources from the environment, problems like pollution, the problems of the emissions into the atmosphere, the climate change, and so forth. We begin to see that children are the worst affected by the impacts of the human behavior on the environment. So when we say children are the worst affected, we say because of their because of the fact that they are still growing up. If we are exposed today to pollution, maybe from mining activities, maybe it's air pollution, the impacts obviously are going to be worse on the child because they are still developing. If we inhale the same amount of pollution, for instance, their lungs are still developing, and the impact is obviously going to be much worse for them in terms of the health. So when we look again at the Constitution, our own Constitution, it speaks of the right to a clean and safe environment. And it also speaks to an environment that is safe and clean, not just for current generations, but for future generations. So what this means is that we, as the current generations, have an obligation to make sure that as we extract resources, we do it in such a manner that is cognizant of the rights of future generations. And when we speak about the participation of children in the environmental decision-making process, we find that according to the Convention on the Rights of the Child, children have a right to participate and their voice should be heard in all issues that affect them. And the problem that we have been trying to address, and why we are even having this conversation, is that children are often left out of decision-making spaces, yet at the same time they are most particularly vulnerable to environmental harm, including the pollution that I made reference to. And in Zimbabwe, when we look at our context, mining is one of those key economic activities, and we all know mining cannot happen without an impact on the environment. And we have seen, for instance, the increase in gold mining activities, the use of hazardous chemicals like mercury and cyanide in the processing of gold. We have seen more children, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, being involved in gold processing and gold mining activities, and therefore being exposed to all these toxic and hazardous chemicals. So it is therefore very important for us as a nation to begin to look at these environmental problems and to really begin to make the link between the participation of children and possible solutions to the environmental challenges that we are facing. Let me end there, Lovejoy.
All right, that's fine. Thank you so much. And definitely we are going to come back to you asking for more about why children are not participating, because this is one of the key issues. Yes, these programs are there for the children, but are the children being involved in such important issues? I think from our findings, we find that they are not really being represented, and would want to know why. Well, unfortunately, we are having internet problems with the other two participants. I hope that we can continue this discussion while also waiting for them. Mr. Bore, fortunately, you're the one who was next on the deliberations. May you kindly give us your submissions, sir? Okay, you might need to unmute your mic.
Okay. Yes, thank you for the reminder. Yes, thank you, Nyarazo, for laying the ground for me, because you have rightly put it that children's participation in a number of structures is not as what we would have expected. And if we look at the Constitution in Section 81, we see that it states that clearly that everything that is to be done should be done in the best interest of the children. So the issues that Nyarazo has already alluded to means that we have a lot that we need to do for the benefit of the children. So my discussion is going to explain what are the child-friendly platforms that children can utilize so that they can add their voice, they can participate, and also provide some suggestions and decision-making to their issues in as far as mining issues are concerned. So maybe the first thing that we need to know is what are child-friendly platforms that they can engage in. When we talk about child-friendly platforms, we are talking about the committees that are in place. We know we have so many committees that we have, and we are saying that in these committees, the children should be represented. We have clubs, we have structures from the top government to the ward or even village. We have these structures and committees, and we have groupings. And in all these, we are saying that the role of children should be key and central, and the children should participate not in a decorative way, just to say the children were there, but they do not know why they are there. We are also saying that this is where children can participate effectively and meaningfully in the decision making. It's all about decisions. If we're looking at the issues that Nyaradzo has already spoken to, it means children need to make decisions around the health of the environment. So they need to participate. And the participation should be taken seriously, not just to say, no, we want them to be, those issues to be taken seriously, because children are, they say, whatever is happening without us is against us. So we don't want that to continue to take place. So what are some of the examples of platforms that they can use? Firstly, we have a junior assembly. Junior assembly, we know that we have a child president. We know that there are child ministers. We know that there are junior MPs, there are junior councillors, junior mayors, junior council chairs, individuals, wadicals. These are some of the structures into which children should play a greater role. They should talk about the mining issues that are happening, say, Marange, in Mutoko, in Buhera, in Midlands, around the gold mining that is happening there. They should add their voice. We have village assemblies, we have child protection committees, we have junior school development committees. At school, what are teachers and adults doing to ensure that the children's rights are being observed at that level? And if you look at Marange, if you look at Mutoko and the communities in Kwekwe or Shurugu area, we find that there is a lot of mining. Schools can play a greater role if children are allowed to participate. We also have environmental groups and platforms. And we also know that there are international protocols to which the government submits their reports after a certain period, like the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Children. Children also submitted their reports to say, these are the progress, this is the progress that we have done in our country in terms of achieving children's rights. And that includes mining rights for the children again. And so these are some of the activities, examples of the platforms that they can use. And what is participation? I'm saying that it is being part of decision-making process. If the children are not being part of the decision-making process, then they are not participating. So we expect that the children will be able to participate. So how do we ensure that they participate? Firstly, we should make the children aware of the available platforms that they can plug into, like I've already shared. We should train children on children's rights, protection, and safeguarding. We should also make sure that children are presented on every structure that is available and are making meaningful contribution. Let us listen and act on their input. Environmental rights should be part of the school curriculum. They say catch them once they are still young, and so that they know the environmental rights that Nyaradzo was speaking to as soon as is possible. Let us have issues that social media that help children to be able to communicate to relevant leaders what their issues are, and we conduct reviews on the progress that will be made. Maybe let me end here, Lovejoy, and then wait for responses as we go. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bore, for that enlightened presentation. My next presenter was going to be Alice, but hey, she's running away. You know, this whole thing with the network. She was supposed to talk about tokenism and valued participation, how to ensure children and youth concerns are heard and properly considered. And Alice is from Zimbabwe Youth Council. She is the programs officer. We hope that she will be back and we can be able to talk to her. In the meantime, Nyaradzo, you were also supposed to talk about remedies available for children and youth regarding participation. I'm sure you can also head into that, and whilst we are waiting for our other colleagues.
Thank you, Lovejoy. So I want to focus on the mining process and the spaces in which children's views can be and their voices can be heard along the decision-making value chain. So when we speak of mining, we have a process known as the environmental impact assessment consultation process. What happens, Lovejoy, is that before a mining project starts, the company is supposed to hire consultants. The consultants are available on the EMA website, the Environmental Management Agency website. It is a list of the approved consultants who conduct environmental impact assessment consultations and produce environmental impact reports. So what the consultants do is that they are supposed to go into the communities where the intended project is supposed to happen. So like Mr. Bore was saying, where there is mining in Mutoko, in Marange, and so forth, before the mining starts, the consultants go into these communities. They speak with the stakeholders and gather the views of the stakeholders about the mining project. They are supposed to speak about the possible environmental impacts of the mining that is being proposed and the mitigation or how the company intends to address that particular impact. So what we are saying is that the issue of how people are mobilized to participate in the EIA consultation process needs to be addressed so that the children's voices are heard at that preliminary stage. What happens now is that usually the traditional leaders or the rural district council are the ones who mobilize for communities to participate. And we are saying the children sometimes have no way of knowing that there is a particular consultation that is happening, and not enough time is being given for the consultation notice. So what we may also want to do is to make sure that the rural district councils and the traditional leaders are also trained about the importance of the participation of children in these processes. Mm-hmm. And where the children and young people feel that their views have not been captured, or that there's been a tokenism approach, like what Mr. Bore was saying, to say, Tangoti ovana vataura, that there is really no interest in capturing that voice and addressing the issues. It's tokenism. So we are basically saying where the children feel there's been a tokenistic approach to their participation in such a process, we have legal processes that can be done through a review to say we are applying for a review of the decision by the Environmental Management Agency to issue out an environmental impact assessment certificate to this company on the basis that the children's views were not captured, or that their voice was not effectively, or their concerns were not effectively addressed. So let me end there, Lovejoy.
The last part of what you're saying, because of maybe if you can just repeat what you just said.
I was saying,
the last part of your presentation.
Yes, in the event that we feel that the children's voices and concerns have not been sufficiently addressed in an EIA report, there is a process of review where we can challenge the decision of the Environmental Management Agency to issue a valid EIA certificate to the company on the basis that the views and concerns of the children were not captured or addressed.
All right. Interesting. Definitely, I think pachona not in Jimmy Munya is in with the likes of Emma, with the government itself and traditional leaders, because they are the custodians of the environment that these mining activities take place. We would want to hear more about that. But in the meantime, let me come to Mazita. Are you with us? Mazita?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, I am. I can hear you.
Are you there? All right.
Yes, I can hear you.
Right. That's fine. So talk to us about the linkages between youth, participation in information.
Okay, thank you. So on linkages between youth participation and access to environmental information, we are saying that we need the youth and the children to participate as much as they can in the environmental issues. But at the same time, if the children and the youth do not get the information and the knowledge of environmental issues and the environmental effects that you're having, maybe in the mining sector, in other environmental activities that are happening out there, it means the youth cannot participate in something that they don't know. Usually youths and children get enthusiastic to participate in things that they understand and in things that they know. So if you understand something and you enjoy hearing about it, it means you can now participate more and give more of what you can. So access to information is important for the youth to participate perfectly in the environmental information and activities. So basically the linkage is that as youth and children should get as much knowledge as they can about their environmental rights. For example, usually we know more about the rights that we have, the right to education. Children know more about the right to shelter, the right to food, but sometimes the right to environment and the environmental rights basically are not talked about. A lot of times at school we really do not learn about them. So maybe for youth and children to participate more, if these are included in the learning curriculums and or maybe it will increase the participation of youth in environmental issues and activities.
All right, interesting. Well, Alice is gone. Alice keeps coming back and going back. I mean, yeah, it's the network. We understand. But Mazita, before I let you loose, I would want to know, you're talking about access to information for the youth and children. Is this access to information on environmental issues easily available? And let's not just talk about students or maybe children who are living in urban areas where but is access to information. We're also talking about children in the rural areas We're also talking about children with disabilities, youth with disabilities. Is this readily available? Can they find information about their environment somewhere where they can say, okay, fine, now we've got this and we're acting according to this?
Yeah, I think that is where we have a bigger problem. For instance, the children that are in the mining areas, where, for example, in our place, I learn in Bindura, right? There are some people in the mining areas where the schools, they do not have internet, they do not have access to knowing, like getting this environmental knowledge, Pachiena, like how we do. So maybe if it could be included in the learning curriculum, I think for children that would be the best way to engage them and have them learn it as much as the way that they learn other subjects and other subjects and other modules. Maybe include it there so that it gets to everyone, even the children who do not have access to the internet, and to like the children in the urban areas. Also for children maybe in these areas where there's no internet, I would think that where there is the mining, those who are doing the mining and the mining companies, if they could provide it there as part of their community services, maybe to provide it so that the children can learn about it, make it a fun exercise as the children and the youth in those areas are learning about their environmental rights, other than maybe to just talk about it. They see it on TV or they don't even know about it. If these companies which are there, they have access to them, they have access to their parents, and if they can do it and provide it for them as part of their community services, then I think it could be a great advantage.
All right, that's very interesting. Nyaradzo, I'll come to you. Ndimi munomirira kodzero environment. Ndimi munomirira vana, my youth, and everybody else. Are you engaging with my organizations like ZNCW, Zimbabwe Youth Council? Are you engaging the likes of Anamazita so that you work together, you work in harmony to ensure that kodzero dzevana in as far as environment is concerned dzakadzivirirwa?
Thank you, Lovejoy. So yes, we are working with ZNCWC and others, Environment Africa, in a TDH program on environmental child rights. As of the universities and schools, Majita can also testify when she says she's with ZEGU ILO. It's an environmental law society that we worked together in partnership with ZEGU and also in partnership with other universities to set up environmental societies on campus as a way to mobilize the young people to participate in environmental issues. And I think Majita was very right in terms of ways in which we should all come together to promote environmental awareness to children and young people, and just an understanding of what the environment is, when they are still children, so that they also in turn act responsibly as citizens in terms of protecting the environment. And they take ownership of really making sure that the environment is safe and healthy. And when it comes to mining, I think the other challenge that has been there is that children are also just seen as maybe just the beneficiaries of corporate social responsibility. So when mining corporations are designing corporate social responsibility projects, there is a lot of schools or development of labs and so forth, which is really good. But there is really no further participation in terms of wanting to hear what the children say are the problems that are arising as a result of the mining and what the mining companies can do to address them. So we also have a challenge again where if an EIA consultation meeting is called for in the community, nobody would think that children are a stakeholder. So the immediate thought is that andezvevanhu vakuru ngakungoenda ivo vana sabhuku kana kuti vari muwadhiko, you know, there is no really appreciation of the fact that children have a right to participate also in the environmental decision-making processes that are there. So we need again to continue to build that understanding of the right of children to participate, the right of children to be heard from the community and from the society level, so that in the end, they are not left out when these consultations are going on. I think it goes beyond, when we look at the mining value chain, it also now goes to the issue of the use of mining revenue. So we mine because we want to get money maybe for the country, and in the end utilize those resources. And you know, we just had the budget statement recently, and that's when we begin to talk about child-friendly budgets and how it is fundamental to include environmental aspects in those child-friendly budgets initiatives. So that when we speak of the junior parliament, when we speak of the junior council and so forth, they are aware of the priorities in terms of environmental health, environmental safety that are coming from the children and from their counterparts. Thank you, Lovejoy.
Wow, interesting.
Sorry,
yes,
Lovejoy.
you want to say something?
I wanted to say two things that follow up on Nyarazo's statement. She has indicated that there is the community share ownership schemes. And if you look at the characterization of the committees that are involved, I'm yet to see one scheme that includes children. Maybe it's one point that we could then say, let us have more children participating. But I know children may be participating, but at a decorative level. We don't want a decorative level. We want the children to then say, why are we participating? They should be informed. They should be taught about the environmental rights that Nyarazo is talking about, and then engage at a very informed position. And then she also spoke about councils. She also spoke about councils to then say that when companies are doing their EIA, environmental impact assessments, they go to councils. That is a very important platform for children to plug into, because we have the young councillors, the junior councillors. If that junior councils in that district is well mobilized and linked well enough with the adult council, then it means the children will then first discuss amongst themselves their concerns, and then on that date, which should be given in good notice time, tichaita EIA on this day, so that the children will then discuss among themselves first, and then the junior councillor will then bring the issues from children to that EIA meeting. That will ensure that the children are then participating and engaging and making the relevant decisions that are required at that level. Thank you.
Interesting. While we're still with you, Mr. Bore, there, speaking about the welfare of the children, are the parents themselves aware of their children's rights, especially parents in mining communities? Do they know what their children's rights are? Do they know that their children are also supposed to receive good health environments?
It's a yes/no answer. I think I cannot give a straight yes or a straight no answer, because parents are very responsible people, and they know the effects of mining on their children. They may not know exactly what the rights are as enshrined maybe in the Constitution or in the African Charter or on the rights and welfare of the children, the UN Convention on the Rights, but they know the effects of mining activities on their children. And they know that those things are not correct. And those things should be corrected because their children need a better thing. Every parent needs the best for her or his children. So these parents already know that something has to be done for the betterment of the children's life. Thank you.
Just to add to that, Lovejoy. So it's a bit of a tricky situation because we always ask if you want to do a mining project, if you are a consultant and you are hired, honestly, can you go and say, we are going to mine here, this is going to pollute your rivers, and we are going to take away your land, and when we are doing blasting, your houses are going to crack. So we are saying there is really a real need for the Environmental Management Agency to monitor the activities of those consultants, to make sure that they are really being honest with the communities, so that the parents that you are that are currently representing the community appreciate to say, if this happens, then our children are going to suffer in this way. Because usually what happens is, the moment the consultant comes in, you know, zvinhu zvakaoma, vabereki will be told, vana vachapinda chi mabasa, kambani iri kuuya ichiita development, maroads achazenge achigadzirwa nechichi, you know, that kind of thing. So in the end, instead of it being a meeting where they are really getting deeper in terms of the impacts of this proposed activity on the environment, it ends up being more like a social welfare meeting where the communities would then be requesting to say, kuno kune nzara, saka kana mauya mutipe mbeu, and that kind of thing. And we have also been saying a loophole that is there, Lovejoy, in the law, is that once an EIA has been issued, there is no review. In the
Okay.
legal framework that is there on environmental management, there is no obligation for maybe a review to say, how are they performing in terms of that EIA that they were issued with? Are they still complying? Are they addressing the challenges? Because it's one thing to speak in theory, kuti rwizi ruchasvibiswa tichazoisa ma-slime dam ekumitigata impact yacho, than kuti maybe 5 years down the line people begin to really see and feel the impact. Mvura yatosviba, we are now walking longer distances as girl child to fetch water for the house because of this mining activity. And to then think kuti ipapo pa 5 years pacho there is no process of review. Ava vari kungoramba vachingoti tine EIA yatakapiwa, saka tiri kuoperate, tiri kucomply. So again, we are saying there should be a mechanism for review, so that as the project goes on, again, we go back to the children, we hear what the actual impacts are, whether the mitigation that these mining companies are putting into place is sufficient to address those impacts. And I think there should be more resources allocated to the Environmental Management Agency to monitor child-specific impacts of the mining, so that they have a clear picture of how the activity is impacting on the right to a clean and safe environment for current and future generations. So that is what I wanted to add. Yeah.
I just wanted
All
to
right,
say
but
something again.
Okay. Maybe before you come in, Mr. Bore, can I just pose this question to Nyarazo before she goes? You are talking about following up, right? The need to follow up on these EAIs and etc. But Ibasarani, whose responsibility is it to make these follow-ups? Is it Zela? Is it ZNCW? Is it Emma? Who's responsible for these things?
We say in terms of protecting our rights, the state institutions are responsible for that. So they are supposed to make sure that in the case if an investor or a business violates our rights, then we should be protected as the citizens, as the children, as the young people of Zimbabwe from the impacts of these business activities. So we have the environmental management agents as the primary body that was set up to manage issues of the environment in the country, but they have their own capacity constraints. So, for instance, we may have in a district one officer. With all those wards that are there, how are they going to monitor? That is why we go now as civil society organizations. We sit down with the young people in the schools and the children at the schools so that we try to make them aware of environmental issues, and so that they begin to monitor themselves and in a way then report any possible issues to EMA. That is why I said in conclusion, EMA should be prioritized. If anything that we have learned from the COVID-19, we have learned that environmental health is a critical issue. And environmental issues are one of the most challenging global concerns at the moment. So we should make sure that our agency is resourced so that they are able to really enforce the laws that are there and the regulations on dust, on water pollution, and so forth and so forth.
All right, interesting. Thank you so much, Nyaradzo. Mr. Bore, I'll come back to you. You had a contribution.
Yes, I wanted to talk about the EIA, that it should not be a tick box affair. It should not be a fixture fulfilling exercise. That company X went to say Bigita Rural District Council and then had an EIA, the report is there, tick box. The people participate, tick box. We had so many people, tick box. No. Our people, that is decorative. That is the decorative manipulating and tokenism that I was talking about in terms of participation. Firstly, the term EIA is a threatening term to most of the people in the villages. Kuti EIA yacho chibori chini. Yeah, what is it?
True.
What is its importance? And then what is the role of parents? What is the role of children in this? What is it if they are not satisfied with the results that the responses that they have been given by those who are doing the EIA? Where do they go to? So what I'm speaking to is that they should be given a more training or capacity building or sensitization awareness, maybe through advertisements or social media, so that we increase the understanding of these EAI. And sometimes they come with the legal jargon. And the legal jargon is a way of stopping people from participating. If you do not package your information in a way that is user-friendly to those people, especially, let alone children. So it means that there should be some review, like Nyaradzo has said, because people will then take time to understand things, and these being new things, and they need some reviews, and also the capacitation of EMA. And then we, as civil society, we then support in different ways that we can come in and say. And children will then see value in these EIAs. And I don't think some of the councillors, I'm sorry to say, but I don't think some of the councillors really understand what the EIA are. Not because they are stupid or what, but because they have not been sensitized, they have not been inducted fully into what this process entails. So, and what their role is, and what they should do in the event of seeing some negative impacts that are likely to occur. So it is important to ensure that all these structures are aware, fully aware of what they are talking about.
Interesting. Before I come to you, Majita, as you prepare, because I want you to talk about. Do you think maybe it's mandatory for students in universities to have, let's say, a module on environmental on environmental rights? I want to go to the comments that we have, and once again, thank you so much to viewers who are tuned in. We really appreciate you coming through to the program. This is your program, Meet the Press with Lovejoy, and we are so humbled by the feedback that we're getting. Unfortunately, I can't be reading everything, but I'll just pick and choose one or two comments that are coming through. Mel's T. Ngube says, I like the idea of environmental rights being included in the school curriculum. If they learn about environmental environmental issues while younger, definitely the next generation will be more enlightened on these issues. I think it goes back to what you guys were also talking about. Fadzai Chikomba, she's following. Thank you. Varaizo, she says, I agree with Nyaradzo. They probably think that corporate social responsibility is compensation for the harm being done to the environment, which directly affects the children. I think it goes back to the issue that you're talking about on the corporate social responsibility of the companies that are undertaking mining activities in the areas. And then Mel Stingway again, she says, I feel the government is not being strict either on curbing environmental issues. They just issue tradable permits to companies that take part in harming the environment. They pay then all is well. I think that's another issue that I would want you guys to also address. Okay, Mels, thank you so much. You seem to be having a lot of contribution here. Your other contribution is that now the question is, will the children be heard? Because it's already a challenge for youth to be heard. What more children? I think it's also one of the questions that I asked. What's next? Unfortunately, we had Alice, but she's not here. She's from the Zimbabwe Youth Council. We wanted to hear her side, from the youth side. And then Mazita, there's also someone who was agreeing with you here. She was saying true on that, Mazita. I think it's from your earlier presentation. And then Mr. Tsuro, you got, I support you on that, Tsuro from Fazai Chikomba. Thank you so much. And then Alan James says, true, we must educate others more and more. Thank you so much for that. Now, back to our panelists. Mazita, I'd asked you about environmental rights being mandatory in schools. Do you think maybe as we head towards attaining what we want, do you think maybe schools and universities should adopt a mandatory approach that let's have a module, especially in universities? I've come across some universities which have got environmental clubs, but I haven't seen a module specifically on the environment. Do you think maybe it's something that we can advocate for and have it in our institutions of higher learning? Mazita? Can you hear me? Okay, I think she's struggling with that. Maybe okay. Mazita?
She has just typed that is breaking a bit. Can you type the question? So it probably means she has network challenges.
I didn't get the last part of the question.
All right, fine. So I was asking, okay, my apologies about
I didn't get the last part of the question.
All right, so I was asking, do you think maybe it should be mandatory for schools and universities to have a module on environmental rights? Okay, I think we are also having problems connecting to her there. Maybe Mr. Bode, you can take this up.
Yes, thank you, Lovejoy. Yes, it is possible. And if you look at the new curriculum, there are elements of environmental energy, environmental awareness in the primary and the secondary syllabi. And I think we need to do more around the content that is shared in the schools. Before I forget, I wanted to speak to the question that was asked by one of our viewers who said, will the children be heard? On the face of it, because we are aware that not everyone is very aware of the environmental rights, especially mining rights that we are talking about. So we know that some children will not, initially children will not be heard. But if we continue with our education, our induction, our trainings, the message will sink. I want to give three good examples where we are working with rural district councils and including child participation through the junior assembly. We have the Zimbabwe Rural District Council, we have Kwekwe Town Council, and we have Redcliffe. These councils have viable junior assemblies, and they actually have a budget for junior assembly activities. And whilst it is not at the best that we are expecting, but we are saying they've made a good start. And more has to be done. Given the issues that we have now, we cannot expect that a budget will be availed overnight 100%, but it can be incremental. And as the children are showing a lot of good output, then you will see that these structures will then form a good source of information and also advocacy for mining rights and other rights. Thank you.
I just want to add to that again, Lovejoy, the issue of will children be heard? Yes, so it is also our role to beyond creating the safe spaces and conducive environment for children to speak and for them to be heard, to also amplify the voices of children on environmental issues so that they can begin to proffer solutions to some of the environmental problems that we are facing now as a result of mining and as a result of other human behavior. So yes, they will be heard, and as Mr. Ibore just said, it's a step-by-step process, it's a gradual process, and we just have to keep moving with creating conducive, safe spaces for children to speak and amplifying their voices. Thank you.
Masvita, are you now with us? Okay, she is having problems still with her network. No, that's fine. Let's move on. Let's quickly move on because of time. We are running out of time. Let's talk about the role of traditional leaders in ensuring that the environment is safe, in ensuring that children are well protected. What role are they playing, if any? Do they have any role that they're playing? Are you engaging with them as advocates for environmental rights for children? I'll start with you, Mr. Bore.
Thank you, Lovejoy. I have problems with the word traditional, though. Local leaders.
Yes, local leaders. You know, this is civil society language.
Local leaders have a big role to play. You know that from time immemorial, as a group of people, we had our own environmental ways of managing the environment. Like you find that the chiefs will then put some laws to say that do not cut this type of tree. Mukute tree should not be cut. This type of tree should not be cut. And then when you are cutting, you should do this. They have a huge role to play. And if they also involve the children in their traditional or their courts, then it means that they will listen to the input from the children, and they will be a good source of policy, local policy, to be able to also advocate with higher authorities. And you will see, even if you look at the Traditional Leaders Act, they have a lot of powers that they can wield in terms of ensuring environmental safety, let alone for the children. So it is important for us to work with the chiefs and village heads and headmen. Thank you.
Nyaradzo?
I think Mr. Bore summed it up, but it is also really important to point out that it's not just traditional leaders, but religious leaders have a role to play in terms of promoting stewardship of the environment and natural resources and responsible utilization of these resources, because these resources in a way given to us, and we have the responsibility to make sure that we utilize them in a way that benefits not just us in a selfish manner, but to be also kind to the generations that will come after us. So it's not just traditional leaders. Issues of the environment also are critical for the religious leaders to be aware of and to be involved in terms of building broader environmental rights awareness and environmental child rights in particular. Thank you.
All right. I know you've got to go. You've got other engagements, and we've just eaten into your time. We apologize for that. But quickly, as we wrap up, I just want to read 3 comments, and then you guys, you can have your last comments. Right? There's one from Fadzachi Komba. She says, yes, it's okay. This was in response to a question that I'd asked Mazvita about mandatory educational rights modules. So she says, yes, it should be made mandatory to have a module of environment. I think environmental education will do more good than harm to us as individuals and to the environment itself, since everyone will know their rights and know how to prevent the environment, to protect the environment. Okay, and then she says, yes, the same way some have communication skills, HIV, sorry, I lost that, HIV and AIDS, as well as gender studies. It is an area of great concern. And then she also adds that, I don't know if I'm wrong, but traditionally children are considered inferior. So I don't know if these local leaders can be educated on the idea that children should be involved in such issues. I think as you wrap up, Mr. Bore and Nyaradzo, please just touch on this. It's a touch and go, please. Just 30 seconds. Should traditional leaders be made aware of the need to include children in their in dealing with environmental rights?
Yes. Oh, Nyarazo first. Thank you.
Yes, they should be made aware. It is critical, like I said, in all these spaces where initially children were supposed to be seen only and not to be heard, to make sure that we build awareness about the importance of child participation and their right to be heard. And that these spaces that are there, even at a traditional level, Mr. Bore, you spoke about the junior council, but I think we also need the junior chiefs and the junior village heads and so forth, so that we begin to also build this culture of having children participate from the society and the community level, especially on issues to do with the environment. So that is my contribution. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Bore, quickly, 30 seconds.
Yes, traditional leaders can make the change that we want around environmental rights. And if they include children and we teach them and involve them, they can make a difference. But I would want to say, in my concluding, if we teach and involve children today around environmental rights, we are building a stronger future for our children and for our generations to come. Look at the climate change issues that are there. We need to make sure that people still go on with their livelihoods into the future. Thank you.
All right. Mazvita had typed her response to the question that I had asked earlier on, and she had said, I think it is environmental right. I think its environmental rights can be made mandatory in schools and universities so that the culture of understanding the environment and the rights related is cultivated in the students. These modules can be made more fun by having visits to the areas so they can learn as they see. So yes, they should be made compulsory. The children and youth will be there tomorrow, hence they will suffer the effects. It's a perfect, it's a perfect what to make them compulsory. Okay, it's perfect to make them compulsory. Okay, I hope I got that right. You are itching to say something? All right, it's fine. All right, so Nyarazo has left us. She has to dash to another meeting, and we lost Alice along the way, unfortunately. And Mavita was just having problems with her network, but she was there for us when we needed her. And thank you so much, Mavita, for coming through. We really appreciate it. And we also want to thank our viewers who were tuned in. We're commenting. We can't read everything, unfortunately. Edith January, we see your comment. Thank you so much. Varaidzo, thank you so much. And we've just seen something from Nels Tinwe. Thank you once again. And Alan James Moyo, thank you as well. I'm sure those who will come to this will see that there was something from you guys. We really appreciate. That said, my name is Lovejoy Mtungiza. The program was Meet the Press, and we were talking about environmental child rights, and with a bias towards what can be done to include the children. Join us next week for another installment of this same program as we continue with this discussion. My name is Lovejoy. Once again, see you in other programs to follow.